Hi guys, welcome back to the channel and to what is obviously going to be a pretty cozy video. I woke up about 5 minutes ago. I am still in my pajamas. I do not have a bra on. I don't intend to put a bra on, and I've got a nice warm cup of coffee, which is absolutely necessary because a wombat kept me up all night. We'll get into that a little bit later. This video is really just a nice, chill, calming place for us to catch up, for me to sort of share how I've been feeling about everything that's going on, how I'm coping, a few of the things that I'm doing to help me feel calm and safe and secure and connected. So we'll go a little bit into that. It is just something I wanted to put together to give you a spot to come to just feel a little bit more centered and a bit more connected. I think people are relying on the internet and people uploading and putting out content which isn't terrifying, so I hope that this is that for you guys. I am currently up in the Kangaroo Valley, which is about 2 hours south of Sydney, about an hour north of my hometown where I'm currently living, Mollymook. Unfortunately, I had to come up for something that I had to do for somebody else, but I'm not seeing anybody. I'm perfectly safe. Other people are perfectly safe. I haven't seen another human being, and I won't before I go home tomorrow. And this is my last bit of necessary travel. After that, I will be at home for the foreseeable future. Like I said, we're going to sit down and have a little bit of a chat about self-care, about coping. Personal update from me, some big things are changing in my life and my future plans. But before we do that, I've got to make myself another coffee to fight my tiredness thanks to wombat butt scratching. And I'm also going to make myself some breakfast. So I'll show you a little bit of that right now. So first, the wombat story. I should have been able to predict what was coming when this clue was left next to my bed. Diary of a Wombat. There was a wombat last night who was scratching his butt on the wall of the yurt, this building, repeatedly every hour from like 2 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the morning. And it sounded, if anybody's ever had neighbors who get a bit frisky, you'll know what it sounds like when they're getting very close as human beings, arguably the closest that two human beings can be. That's what it sounded like. So I woke up and was like, that can't be right. There's nobody else here. And then I remembered I'd been told that the wombats like to use the yurt as their butt scratching post. So I should have realized when I saw this. Oh, that was very ASMR. I really want to start an ASMR channel, or like an ASMR guided meditation channel. I've had people ask me to do that before. I do make guided meditations for my workshops, like the body neutrality workshop. So I make them for body image. I obviously make them for grounding. I make them for anxiety management. Let me know if you guys want that sort of short to extended ones. So ones that are just a couple of minutes, a few minutes, and then maybe longer meditations or ASMR videos. Let me know. But did anyone else ever want to be a teacher or be on Play School just so they could do like the picture book reading, like Diary of a Wombat, written by Jackie French, and then this sound. That was over the top. I overdid that one. Let's try that again. That's it. That's it. That's the sound. How many wombats? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stop. Okay, I'm making myself sick. So that's the wombat story. If I see any wombats frolicking, I will try to get them on camera so you can check out my little Wombi neighbor friends. Most important thing that we're going to do in this video today, guys, is check in with you. Let me know how you are doing. Leave me an update in the comments below. Let me know how you're coping, what strategies you're using, what's sort of happening in your life with this quarantine and what's going on at the moment. I know that we are very supportive and encouraging of each other, so get in there and reply to each other. I will be in the comments replying to you and reading everything you have to say. I know I can sometimes be quite bad at, not with the comments, but usually with Instagram messages and emails, I can be quite bad at getting back to people because they usually disappear before I even get a chance to get to them. But I've got a bit of time on my hands, so if you sent me an email in the last 12 months, you might just be getting a very delayed response from me soon. The update with me is that I'm actually quite surprised by how low my anxiety has been, but I think that's because I've kind of outstressed myself over the last 9 months. It's kind of like life couldn't get more traumatic or unpredictable, so my brain just went, oh no, we can't go further than we've gone, so there's just no point, which kind of feels like a positive thing in the sense that I do feel more capable of supporting people than I have recently. I kind of feel like my resilience has been super increased, and that gives me capacity to kind of be a bit of a calm space for other people. And there's certainly reasons why my anxiety should probably be higher than it is. I have been living down the coast ever since I got back from America after my dad passed away, because my mum had a scheduled surgery for ages, like well before Dad's health went downhill, that she couldn't move, and it was for her ankle, so she hasn't been able to walk or really do anything. She's pretty much been bedbound for the last 5 weeks. So I've been, cooking and shopping and doing the washing and like cups of tea and water and back in sort of carer mode, as well as for my 92-year-old grandmother who lives around the corner from my mum. She's in her own home and she doesn't need, as much care as mum does at the moment, but mum takes care of her. So now that's been my job. And obviously they're both vulnerable and I'm the one out in the world running around doing stuff for all of us. So I feel quite anxious in that area, that I feel like I have to be so careful not to expose them to anything because I am their contact with the world. But yeah, I think after last year's life events, and particularly the fires were just like 2 to 3 months of constant stress and threat and danger that was imminent and something we had no control over. This feels like I have some influence over things I can do, not just with, keeping myself safe and keeping my loved ones safe and making sure I'm following all the protocols and doing what I'm meant to be doing, but also all these measures that I'm taking to take care of my mental health, to communicate with people, to do some of the stuff that we talked about in the last video. Go back and watch it if you haven't. Some practical guidance around how to kind of approach therapy, how to manage that, some resources you can use to kind of get you through this period for recovery and anxiety, etc. I think this is a big test of how we maintain our mental health and prioritize it. And, putting in some structure, not just around your workday, not just around, especially if you've got kids at home, I give you the biggest props in the world, because I cannot imagine those people who have made that switch from not only working from home, but having their kids at home. But some of that self-care structure, even if it's just one thing you can do every day. You might notice behind me that I have made my bed. I try to make my bed every single day, because when I was getting better through my recovery, I remember hearing this guy talk about the fact that if you make your bed in the morning, doesn't matter how your day goes, doesn't matter what happens. It can be the worst day you've ever had or a super stressful day where you weren't able to do anything that you planned to do, or everything just kept screwing up, and you walk in to your bedroom and you look at your bed and you see that you did one thing for yourself that was constructive, that was comforting, that was productive, that gave you that sense of security and safety, like you're looking out for yourself. I really like that concept of looking out for our future selves, putting things in place to create a safety net for what you might go through that day, and just preemptively and proactively trying to cushion what we know life can do to us, right? It can throw things out of absolutely nowhere to completely derail us. So just having that sense of predictability, make your bed, know that when you come home, you've got a nice made bed. Well, no one's really coming home at the moment, but when you walk into your bedroom at the end of a tough, anxiety-induced day, that your bed is made. The other thing I like to do that falls into that sort of past self, looking out for future self category is something I started doing when I was in recovery, which is kind of based around gratitude. So each night before I go to bed, I write down a few things for me to fill out and answer the next morning. So in the evening before I go to sleep, I write down 3 things I'm grateful for and then leave it blank. Then 1 thing I'm looking forward to and leave that blank. And then finally, 1 thing I can do to take care of myself today and leave that blank. I put my pad, there it is, and my pen next to my bed. And then when I wake up in the morning, if I need to pee, that's the first thing I do. But otherwise, this is the first thing I do in the morning, is fill this out. So for today, the 26th of March, my responses were 3 things I'm grateful for. 1, Lola, obviously. 2, my work making it possible for me to remain at home. 3, friends and family are healthy. 1 thing I'm looking forward to, moving into a new home. Spoiler alert for an update coming along in just a minute. And 1 thing I can do to take care of myself today, prioritize rest and sit with anxiety if it comes up while positively distracting yourself. I talk about positive distraction and give you some suggestions in the video that I put out last week, so go and check that out if you would like some really specific suggestions about how to let your anxiety and your feelings have space, but not to torture yourself with them, to kind of be able to manage them and maintain them and distract yourself in a healthy way. Lola has also been a really big part of my anxiety management. She always is. I love that cat. That cat, like I've talked about before, has helped to save my life on many occasions because she just makes me so happy. So if you have an animal, if you are lucky enough to have the privilege of taking care of a little furry person, please prioritize time with them. They're probably going to be a bit bored out of their brain depending on how limited their outside exposure is. But we know from a research standpoint that patting an animal, even looking at an animal, gives us a big boost in happy hormones and can reduce stress levels from sort of a physiological level. So thank you to Lola for being like a living, breathing stress reliever, except for when she plays with the toilet paper and it ends up in a pile on the floor. Something else I've been doing, which I'm very good at doing, is giving myself permission to just chill out, just do nothing without the guilt, without the panic, without, oh, but I should be doing this and I should be doing that, because I am giving myself flexible structure. I'm saying, well, I've got to get this amount of work done today, so I'll dedicate 2 to 4 hours to that. Or I need to get study done today, so I'll dedicate 1 to 2 hours to that. I know I need to relax, so I'm going to watch what else? Harry Potter, and eat a Freddo frog, aka what I did yesterday. Giving yourself permission to relax is so important. Giving yourself permission to say, you know what, this is an opportunity for me to learn how to get comfortable with being still and being quiet and not having to have sort of a purpose to everything. If that's something you struggle with, which I certainly do, I grew up in a household where it was like, unless you're doing something at all times, then you are bad or wrong or lazy, all these negative connotations. And now I am the queen of couch and Netflix time. So just giving myself complete permission to work that into my schedule. I touched on this in the video that I made last week, but if you can, getting outside in a responsible way, obviously not going near people and keeping that distance, going for walks if you can, which we still can here, or just standing out on a patch of grass and grounding yourself and feeling that connection to the world, that there is a big wide world still out there. Or if you are in a position where you can only stay inside, get into a sunny part of your apartment or house or whatever it is, get that vitamin D, get that connection to the outside world happening. We need that reminder, otherwise cabin fever becomes a very real issue. Even yesterday, I was, inside most of the day in my car or running around doing stuff for mum and gran. And when I got here, it was raining and I was like, oh, I can't go for a walk. I was planning a walk. And then I thought, this is the most soothing sound you could possibly need right now if you're feeling anxious. So I just sat, and with the exception of recording some of it for you guys, just disconnected from everything, all of my devices, and just soaked up that sound, that soothing sound, and saw it as an opportunity, right? As much as these things that we're experiencing at the moment are scary and anxiety inducing, we can find pockets of opportunity and pockets of hope and gratitude right? It doesn't mean it's a positive thing, but we can extract some positivity even out of dark, scary, surreal moments. Something I do need to work on is connecting with my friends a bit more. I know I need to schedule kind of calls with them, and probably like even Friday night wines. That's something I'm actually quite excited to do, and I think that they would be so happy to get on board with that idea. So we've definitely got to do a bit more of that, particularly because I've made quite a big life choice as a result of what's been going on. To give you a bit of context, after my dad passed away in October and my sister and I moved back to Australia, I then moved down to the South Coast where my family lives. I usually live in Sydney, but my mum had a surgery scheduled, which she'd had scheduled forever. Mum's at the end of sort of that healing process, so it was about now. Well, I was actually meant to be in Lord Howe now, but I'm very happy they cancelled that, because if that island, anybody got sick on that island, the whole island would just be so vulnerable. But I was really around this time meant to be moving back to Sydney and kind of getting back on track with my life. My life's sort of been taken off the rails of where I thought it was going a year ago and put on a very different trajectory. And then all this popped up, and the idea of going back to Sydney when there's nothing available on the rental market because nobody's moving for obvious reasons. And even if I did move back to Sydney, I can't see Sydney clients face to face. I can't see my friends. Really, it's only going to get more intense in terms of the restrictions. Can't go to restaurants or pubs, etc. Which is not me saying woe is me. It's just a reflection of the fact that there is really no point moving back to Sydney currently. So the upside of that, the positive of that, is that I've been looking at houses on the South Coast, and you can get a lot more bang for your buck on the South Coast than you can in Sydney, surprisingly. So have been looking at some really lovely places, which, even though it's not the plan and I am disappointed to not be with my friends and kind of getting life back to where I would like it to be, I'm also aware that everyone's in that boat at the moment. It feels good to be with my family during this time in a part of the world where we are relatively sort of less at risk. And given I can, help take care of my 92-year-old grandmother, it's so important that I don't put her at risk. And my mum, she's over 60. For the next 6 months at least, I will be staying on the South Coast, but having my own place. I will hopefully get to do a house tour for you guys and bring you some really great content in whatever that new space is. I'm looking for a place with a really great kitchen where I can film and kind of do those old cooking and chatting videos that I was doing for a while, because I loved doing those, and just sharing with you my relationship with cooking and food in that regard. I don't do full day of eating or what I eat in a day for reasons I've discussed before, but I do like to demonstrate my relationship with food in sort of a more casual way that's like, food's not a big deal, but it can be enjoyable and it can be creative and it can be an expression of caring about people when you cook for them and come up with new recipes. So yeah, that is actually something I am excited about, even though it was unexpected and not ideal. So I will definitely keep you guys updated in that sense. But look, other than that, in my corner of the world, things are relatively manageable. I want to be here for you guys. I'm going to be uploading things like this, which are just chill and, able to provide a space where we can connect and remember that, we're all out here supporting each other. We are in this together. And don't forget that there is the What Mia Did Next forum. The link is in the description box below. It is free. I have never charged for it. It is the most wonderful, supportive community. You don't just have to use it for eating disorder recovery purposes. There's all kinds of categories in there. And it's really just a safe place for you guys to connect. You can be anonymous there. You sign up with your email, but no one can see your email but me. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this hangout. That's why it's been a bit of a longer one. Come and find me on Instagram and Twitter under What Mia Did Next. I'll see you guys next week with another video. Much love. Take care. Stay safe. Bye, guys.